So I am officially 25 weeks pregnant. So hello guys! Welcome to today's video, which is all about my 25th week of pregnancy, which means I am less than 15 weeks away from my due date, which is mental! Isn't that mental? Yeah, I'm less than 15 weeks from my due date, which is insane to think about. This week's been a bit of a crazy one, so this video might be a bit of a shambles. You can probably tell that I'm not wearing any makeup and my hair isn't done. This is what I look like without any makeup on and without my hair done. This is because I already filmed this video and the audio was so bad on it that I just thought I'm just gonna have to refilm this. I couldn't put a video up with that bad sound quality on it, so here I am. And aside from the fact that this is what I do look like, this is a real representation of what I look like when I'm tired, I haven't had much sleep and I've not done my hair. Whereas normally I try and film these on a day where I'm feeling particularly, I'm feeling a bit better, on the better side of things. And I tend to do my makeup before filming, so this is a much more realistic view of what I look like anyway, and I shouldn't be afraid to put that on my YouTube channel because this is what I look like, this is what I got, this is what I'm working with. At 25 weeks pregnant, the baby is about 34.6 centimetres from head to toe, about 1.5 pounds and about 1.5 pounds, and they're about the size of the average Swede. So it's, baby's growing quite a bit. Every week at the moment they're just kind of like building up more and more of their little baby chub. So at this stage mostly everything is there. At this stage, like, everything is there, it just needs to grow and get stronger. Like their lungs, for example, need to get much stronger before they can be born. Obviously babies at this point have been born and have survived, and it's happening more and more frequently, but we do like them to cook for about another 15 weeks, don't we? We do prefer them to be closer to their due date so that they're as fighting fit as possible, and to save us having to have a horrible journey with an ICU. I can't imagine going through that. Much respect to all the mamas that have, but hopefully I can avoid that. So I'd like my baby to cook a bit more, please. Please cook some more. So this week I've got a few things I need to cover. I filled in my maternity allowance form, which I said I was going to talk about that last week, but I hadn't done it, and I'm actually really glad I hadn't done it because I actually can't send it away until I'm 26 weeks pregnant, until I've hit 14 weeks before my due date. So like, even though I've got all the information there that I need and know what everything's going to be like, actually turns out I can't send it away yet. And so I've done that. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I just had to gather all the evidence of my pay and stuff. I think I'm going to have a bit of a fight for it because of course this pandemic has definitely cut my earnings by quite a substantial amount. I work generally in an industry that's very heavily affected by tourism, and that has not been so great this year, and my work spent a lot of the year closed, and we're still closed, so that's great. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a fight for it, but they are making exceptions about people who've been affected by coronavirus and whose earnings have been affected by coronavirus, so hopefully it'll all be okay. So yes, we'll chat about how I've been. I have been on the tired side. I have been definitely getting a bit of insomnia. It's not been good. I think I've spoken about this quite a bit before, but I'm having major problems with sleeping right now, in the sense that, so if I try and sleep on my right, obviously they prefer you to sleep on your left, but just hear me out. If I try and sleep on my right, I get really bad heartburn which is insane because I didn't get any heartburn with Poppy. I pretty much had like 3 days of heartburn and that was about it, whereas now I get heartburn if I lie on my right hand side at all. If I lie on my left hand side, I get really bad pains in my hips, so that's not good. The next thing that's going on is that my hips, oh my god, my hips have been bad. They've been terrible. Like, some days they're okay and then other days they're not, and I feel like what's happening is that the baby is like dropping into my hips and then coming back out, and then dropping into my hips and then coming back out, and I feel like the days when they're dropping into my hips, I feel a lot of pressure down between my hips. I feel a lot of pressure on my cervix and my hips are very painful. And then the days where the baby's a bit higher up, I'm doing okay. So it's a matter of just getting things done on the days where I feel okay and resting on the days where I don't feel like I'm okay. Oh, I had my 24-week appointment. Where they chatted to me a bit about all these things. So yeah, obviously I've been talking about my really painful contractions that I've been having, and I had a bit of mucus come away and we weren't sure if it was mucus plug or not. Like, it was the tiniest bit, but this is going to be really gross by the way, so sorry. I'm not sorry. I had a bit of the mucus come away and it had like just a little bit of brown in it, which makes me think it's part of the mucus plug. So obviously there was concern in that, but it really wasn't much, so it's definitely not the whole thing. So I could have been more concerned. But I had a chat with the midwives about that, and they obviously did a urine sample like they would normally do, and there was a bit of protein in my urine, so they were like, well, that kind of ties up with that, but because you've been having these like painful Braxton Hicks and all these symptoms, what we'll do is we'll do a smear test. No, we'll do a swab test and we'll do a check of your cervix. So they went ahead and did a check of my cervix. They got the doctor to do that. The doctor says my cervix is fine. It's not showing any signs of being ready to start dilating at all, which is brilliant news, because obviously I had been concerned about how painful my Braxton Hicks had been. So like, no, it probably is just Braxton Hicks. It'd just be more painful than you're used to with your last pregnancy, which is fine. I'm still waiting on the results of my swab, so we'll see how that comes back, because obviously because there was that bit of protein there, they like just do a swab and it should be okay, but of course just checking for any infections or anything that might be triggering that. So there we have it. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to touch on briefly is just a little bit about depression in pregnancy. Before I go into it, I do want to point out that I am fine, in the sense of the word fine. Like, I'm not trying to use the word fine to cover up something, like I'm not trying to use it to cover up something worse, but I'm also not gonna try and make it sound like I'm doing much better than I am. And it comes for me with being so tired. So I think depression is quite common in pregnancy. As I've spoken about briefly on my channel before, is I do have a personality disorder, and one of the symptoms that I get with that, I get depression as a symptom of my personality disorder, so it comes and goes in waves, and my waves don't generally last very long. But when I'm quite tired or I'm quite busy, it often can be on the worse side, because I do have quite a few fluctuations in my mood. It can be quite tiring, like feeling depressed and then feeling really good and then feeling really depressed and then feeling really good. So depression I find even more tiring, but I just wanted to touch on it briefly because I feel like it's something that we don't talk about enough as pregnant women, is that pregnancy is hard. It does take a toll on your body. When you already do have a child, you're very exhausted, you're very tired, and it feels like a great big long marathon, and at this stage you can still feel like you're ages away from the finish line. So it is really easy to begin to feel a bit bogged down with it, and I feel like we don't talk about it enough because we feel like as soon as we talk about depression we're being ungrateful for what we do have, whereas that's not the case at all. So I figured I'd just raise it, like, I'm doing fine, I don't need any help, and because I've been suffering with this personality disorder for a very long time, I have become an expert at knowing when I actually need more assistance, when I actually need to talk to a doctor or friends, or I've become very good at knowing when I need extra support and knowing how to pick myself back up a bit. But not everyone has that experience, so I could understand why you feel a bit helpless, especially with everything going on right now. So basically, if you're pregnant and you're feeling a little bit low, don't feel like by talking about it that you're being ungrateful. Don't feel like you shouldn't feel that way, because pregnancy is tough. It takes a huge toll on our body, a huge toll on our minds, and everything else right now is really hard. So if that is a symptom you're having, feel free to talk to people about it. Yes. I know this video wasn't the most cheerful one, and I know it was maybe a bit on the longer side and a bit rambly, but that's just the nature of these sometimes, isn't it? Surely?